Hey, let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at your life and thought, I know there's more in me than what I'm showing the world right now? Like deep down, you know you're capable of more, but for some reason, you're stuck on the runway, watching everybody else take off. Yeah, you're not alone. We've all been there, frozen by doubt, distracted by noise, overwhelmed by the pressure to get it all perfect before we even begin. But here's the truth, one nobody talks about enough. You are not stuck because you lack talent. You are not stuck because you lack time or resources or hustle. You're stuck because your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do, protect you. And it does that by keeping you comfortable, by keeping you hesitant, by keeping you small. The key to unlocking extraordinary success, it's not in the hustle. It's not about being born with discipline or waking up every day with fire in your gut. It's about understanding your mind, how it tricks you, how it stops you, and how to beat it at its own game. And that's what we're going to unpack today. I'm going to share with you 5 truths, 5 mindset shifts that can break you out of the loop you've been stuck in and launch you into a version of yourself you haven't even met yet. Not because you're becoming someone new, but because you're finally peeling off the layers of doubt and hesitation that have been hiding the real you all along. So if you're ready to stop waiting, if you're tired of hesitating, if you're done letting fear wear a mask and call the shots in your life, then lean in, because this right here, this is the moment everything starts to change. Let's get one thing straight. You are not lazy. You're not unmotivated. And no, you don't lack discipline. The truth is, your brain is hardwired to protect you from change, even the change you desperately want. That's why waiting to feel like it is a losing strategy. If you're sitting around waiting for motivation to strike, you're going to be sitting there for a long damn time. Motivation is unreliable. It's like waiting for lightning to hit. Sure, it might show up now and then, but if that's your only source of power, you're not going to get far. The reality is, your brain is designed to keep you safe. Safe means familiar. Safe means routine. Safe means staying exactly where you are, doing what you've always done. The second you try to do something new, ask for the raise, start the business, get up early, go to the gym, speak your mind, your brain hits the brakes hard. It floods your body with doubt, anxiety, excuses. What if I fail? What if they laugh? What if it doesn't work? That's not your truth talking. That's your brain trying to protect you from risk. And unless you understand this, unless you learn how to outsmart it, you will stay stuck. So how do you beat a brain that's wired to stop you? You build a system, not a perfect system, not some 87-step self-help ritual. I'm talking about a system that's simple, powerful, and impossible to screw up. A system that works even when you don't feel like it. One of the best tools, a rule so simple it sounds ridiculous. Count backward. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go. It's not magic. It's science. The second you count down and take action before your brain can stop you, you interrupt the default autopilot of hesitation. You create a moment of control, and in that moment, you move. That's how you rewire your mind. Now think about this. Every single time you hesitate, every time you sit there thinking, should I do it? That's a micro moment of decision. And if you don't act within 5 seconds, your brain will kill the idea. That is a fact. You'll rationalize it. You'll scroll your phone instead. You'll say, I'll do it later. And you won't. You've done it a million times. But if you move within 5 seconds, if you interrupt the pattern and take one small action, you create momentum. And momentum is more powerful than motivation. You're not going to feel like doing hard things. You're not going to wake up and want to write the book, send the pitch, or put down your phone. That's not how it works. Stop expecting it to feel easy. Stop waiting for the mood to strike. Start building the muscle of action. The second you feel an instinct, a real, honest, this matters to me instinct, count down and go. Make the call, open the document, get out of bed. It's not about doing everything. It's about doing something, because when you act, you're not just changing your behavior, you're changing your brain. Neuroscience shows that the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision making and planning, lights up when you take intentional action. That means every time you push through hesitation and choose to act, you're strengthening the very part of your mind that makes success possible. You are literally becoming someone else, someone bolder, someone braver, someone in control, and guess what? That's not reserved for special people. That's not some talent you're born with, it's a skill, a choice, a habit you build. You want extraordinary success. Stop relying on how you feel. Start trusting what you do. The people who achieve extraordinary results don't have more time. They don't have less fear. They've just learned to act in spite of it. They've built systems, tiny, powerful habits, that keep them moving forward when everyone else gets stuck. They don't wait for perfect. They don't need to feel ready. They just go. They understand the truth. Action beats everything. Every single time. Let me tell you something. You already know what to do. You do. The problem isn't clarity. The problem is hesitation. And the longer you sit in it, the more power it gains. But hesitation has a weakness. It can't survive action. You don't have to fix your whole life today. You don't need a 10-year plan. You need 5 seconds of courage, over and over again. You need a trigger, a tool, something that cuts through the noise and gets you moving. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's it. You interrupt the pattern, you take the wheel, and suddenly, things start to change, not because you wished for it, but because you moved. Fear is a master of disguise. It doesn't show up in your life wearing a big red flag that says, "I'm fear." No, fear is slicker than that. It shows up dressed as something you trust, logic. It uses your own voice, your own thoughts, and it sounds like it's trying to protect you. Now's not the right time. You need to do more research. Let's wait until you're more prepared. Be realistic. That's fear talking. It just slapped on a rational sounding mask and convinced you it was being smart. But let's call it what it is, a lie, a really good one, but a lie nonetheless. The problem is, when fear starts talking, it doesn't scream. It whispers. It sounds responsible. It sounds thoughtful. It sounds like the voice of reason. And if you're not aware of it, if you're not watching for that voice, you believe it. You nod your head. You tell yourself you're just being practical. You tell yourself maybe later. You convince yourself it's not fear, it's just you being wise. And boom, you're stuck again. Think about it. Every time you've stood at the edge of something big, something exciting, something you wanted, fear showed up, didn't it? Not with alarms blaring, but with quiet doubts. What if I'm not good enough? What if I mess it up? What will people think? And then instead of pushing forward, you paused. You rethought, you stalled. You stayed where it was safe. That is what fear wants. It doesn't care if you're miserable as long as you're comfortable. It doesn't care if your potential is wasting away as long as it doesn't feel risky. Here's the truth nobody tells you. Your brain is not designed to make you successful. It's designed to keep you alive, so it's constantly scanning for risk, uncertainty, failure. It's always asking, what could go wrong? And when it finds something, even a whisper of doubt, it amplifies it. Your brain thinks it's doing its job, but what you have to understand is this. The modern world is not a jungle. Your fears are not lions and cliffs and fire. They're emails, presentations, judgment, rejection. And guess what? You can survive all of that. But fear doesn't know that. It still thinks anything unknown equals death. So when you try to step outside your comfort zone, fear goes into overdrive. And here's the kicker. The smarter you are, the more convincing your fear becomes. Because now it's armed with data, with analysis, with endless scenarios and statistics. It uses your intelligence against you. It makes your hesitation look like strategy. Let's be careful. We need a plan. This could go wrong. You talk yourself out of things that could change your life, and you think it's maturity. That's not maturity. That's fear in a lab coat. So how do you spot the lie? You start by noticing the pattern. Every time you come close to a big move, quitting, launching, speaking, standing up, fear gets louder, not with panic, but with logic. And if that voice is keeping you small, keeping you safe, keeping you still, it's fear. Period. Logic is about solving problems, not avoiding action. Logic helps you move forward. Fear makes you freeze. Learn to tell the difference. You've got to challenge that voice. Question it. Is this really unsafe or just unfamiliar? Am I protecting myself or holding myself back? What's the worst case scenario and could I handle it? You're stronger than fear wants you to believe, and the best way to weaken fear is to expose it. Speak it out loud. Write it down, name it, because once you see the lie for what it is, it loses its grip. You don't need to be fearless. That's a myth. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's doing the thing while you're afraid. And when you start moving, even just a little, fear has to take a backseat. Action drowns out the noise, but you have to go first. You have to choose movement over safety. You have to choose risk over regret. That's how you take your power back. Every breakthrough you want is on the other side of fear pretending to be logic. That new job, that dream project, that relationship, that decision you keep pushing off. Fear is sitting on top of it like a bouncer, telling you you're not ready. But it's lying. You are ready. You just have to stop arguing with fear like it's telling the truth. It's not. It never has been. It just sounds really convincing. Everybody talks about discipline like it's some mythical power you either have or you don't. Like there's a chosen few out there with iron wills who bounce out of bed at 5 a.m., eat nothing but kale and hard work, and crush life without ever complaining. That's a lie. Nobody feels like doing hard things all the time. Not even the most successful people you look up to. The real secret, it's not discipline, it's momentum, movement, getting into action. Even if it's messy, even if it's small, even if it's imperfect. Because motion builds more motion. Discipline sounds like a mountain. Momentum feels like a bike going downhill. Once you start pedaling, even just a little, things get easier. You stop thinking so much and start doing. You stop over-planning and start producing. You stop asking, can I? And start proving that you can. The hardest part of anything is the beginning. It's that first 5 minutes of doing the workout, sitting down to write, picking up the phone, stepping on the stage. That's where people give up. Not because they're lazy, but because they never get past the resistance phase. That heavy, dragging, awkward moment where your brain throws every excuse in the book at you. You're tired. You're not ready. It won't matter anyway. And if you believe that noise, you never move. But if you push through just enough to start, something shifts. Your body wakes up. Your mind stops whining. Your energy kicks in, and suddenly you're not stuck anymore. You're rolling. Momentum is physics. Objects in motion stay in motion. And that applies to you. You don't need a 5-year plan. You need 5 minutes of action. You don't need to overhaul your life. You need to do one thing, just one, that gets you out of neutral. And once you start, the next step is easier, and the next, and the next, because now you're not trying to climb the whole mountain. You're just taking the next step. We have this toxic obsession with being disciplined. We think it means grinding through misery, forcing ourselves to do things we hate with a smile. But that's not how change sticks. That's not how you build a life you love. You don't need to bully yourself. You need to build momentum. You need to experience what it feels like to succeed in tiny, doable ways. Ways that tell your brain, hey, we can do this. We are doing this. And that shift, that little burst of confidence, it's addictive. It creates a loop. You start to trust yourself more. And when you trust yourself, you take more action. That's how you grow. Momentum doesn't require perfection. In fact, perfection kills momentum. If you're waiting to have the perfect plan, the perfect moment, the perfect conditions, you'll be waiting forever. Start ugly. Start unprepared. Start scared, but start. Because clarity comes from doing, not thinking. You're not going to figure it all out in your head. You figure it out while you're moving, while you're showing up, while you're trying, failing, adjusting, and trying again. That's how every successful person you admire did it, whether they tell you or not. And here's something nobody tells you. Motivation comes after momentum, not before. We've got it backwards. We think motivation leads to action, but it's actually the opposite. When you take action, even the smallest step, you get a little win. That win gives you a hit of dopamine. That dopamine makes you feel good. And guess what? Feeling good makes you want to take another step. It's not about willpower. It's about biology. Your brain rewards action, and that reward fuels more action. So stop waiting to feel ready. You won't. You don't need a 30-day challenge. You don't need to fix your whole life overnight. You just need a spark, one push, one choice that breaks the cycle of overthinking and gets the wheels turning. Maybe that's setting a timer for 10 minutes and doing the thing you've been avoiding. Maybe it's putting your phone down and taking a walk. Maybe it's finally hitting send on that email. Whatever it is, it's not about how big it is. It's about the fact that you did it, that you showed up when it would have been easier not to. And once you're in motion, protect that motion. Build on it, stack the wins, don't break the chain, don't wait for giant leaps. Look for tiny, daily progress. That's what keeps the engine running. That's how you go from stuck and frustrated to confident and unstoppable. Not with willpower, not with perfection, with momentum. Let's kill this myth once and for all. Procrastination does not mean you're lazy. It doesn't mean you're broken, irresponsible, or lacking ambition. You want to do the thing, you know it matters. It's sitting right there on your to-do list. Bold, underlined, maybe even starred with a little exclamation point. And yet you scroll, you clean, you binge. You avoid, and then you beat yourself up for it. But hear this, procrastination isn't the problem. It's a signal. It's your brain trying to tell you something. And until you learn to listen instead of label yourself, you're going to stay stuck in the same cycle. Procrastination isn't about time management. It's about emotion management. Read that again. You're not avoiding the task itself. You're avoiding the feeling that comes with the task: stress, uncertainty, boredom, insecurity, perfectionism. You don't delay because you're lazy. You delay because something about that task is triggering discomfort. And your brain's job is to protect you from discomfort. So what does it do? It redirects you to something easier, something numbing, something that gives you a quick hit of relief. Even if it costs you long-term progress. Let's break that down. You open your laptop to start the project. 5 seconds in, your chest tightens. You feel overwhelmed. Suddenly, checking your email feels like a smart move. Then you remember the laundry. Then you decide to just scroll for 5 minutes. And now it's an hour later and you're mad at yourself. That spiral, that's not laziness. That's avoidance. And underneath avoidance, there's usually fear. Fear of failing. Fear of not doing it perfectly. Fear of being judged. Your brain senses that fear and says, nope, let's escape instead. And boom, you're in the loop. So what do you do with that signal? You get curious. You stop judging yourself and start asking better questions. Why am I putting this off? What emotion am I trying to avoid? What part of this task feels overwhelming or unclear? 9 times out of 10, procrastination is trying to tell you that there's friction somewhere. Maybe you don't actually understand the first step. Maybe the task is too big and needs to be broken down. Maybe your inner critic is so loud that starting feels dangerous. And once you identify the real reason you're avoiding the task, now you've got power. Because now you're not stuck in shame, you're working with information. Here's another truth. Sometimes you procrastinate because you're burned out. Not because you're weak, but because your brain and body are asking for rest. And you haven't been listening, so they force you into shutdown. You can't push through fatigue forever. Your system will rebel. And sometimes procrastination is how it rebels. If your body's asking for recovery, give it recovery, not guilt, not judgment, not hustle. Recovery. Other times, procrastination shows up when you've lost connection to the why. You've been grinding so hard you forgot what the goal even is. You're disconnected from meaning, and when things lose meaning, they also lose urgency. The fire goes out, so yeah, you scroll instead of start. You delay instead of dive in. But here's the thing, once you reconnect to purpose, the fog lifts. Get back in touch with why this thing matters to you, not just why it's on a checklist. That brings energy back. And energy fuels action. Here's the shift. Instead of saying, I procrastinate, I suck. Try this. I'm procrastinating. What's the signal here? That's emotional intelligence. That's how you reclaim control. Because once you understand why you're procrastinating, you can respond instead of react. You can lower the friction. You can simplify the task. You can set a timer for 10 minutes and just begin. You don't have to finish. You just have to start. That tiny shift from stillness to motion changes everything. And here's something wild. Once you start, the discomfort usually fades. Your brain realizes the monster wasn't that big. The story you told yourself was scarier than the task itself. Action reduces anxiety every single time, but you don't get that relief by thinking. You get it by doing, by tricking your brain with a small step, a micro move, a signal that says, hey, I'm safe, I've got this. So no, you're not lazy. You're not broken. You're not doomed to repeat this cycle forever. You just need to stop treating procrastination like a character flaw and start treating it like feedback. When you listen to it, learn from it, and move through it with curiosity instead of criticism, everything changes. You stop being stuck. You start building momentum. You become someone who moves, not because it's easy, but because you've learned to work with your brain, not against it. You are not stuck. Let's just start there. You feel stuck. You think you're stuck, but you're not. What's actually happening is this. You're waiting for someone to tell you it's okay, waiting for the timing to be right, waiting for more confidence, more clarity, more signs from the universe. You're sitting on the runway, engines running, and you keep checking the control tower for permission to take off. But here's the truth you need to hear. There is no control tower. No one is coming. No one's going to show up with a golden envelope saying, congratulations, you're finally ready. That permission slip you're waiting on, you write it yourself. Most of the time, what looks like being stuck is really just fear wearing a mask. You're afraid to move forward without approval, without guarantees, without applause. So you tell yourself you need more time, or more planning, or more validation. But if you're honest, deep down, you already know what you want to do. You already know what your next move is. The real issue is that you're afraid to own it. Because the second you do, you also own the risk. You own the judgment. You own the possibility of failure, and that is terrifying. So what do you do instead? You wait for someone else to go first. Someone to tell you that it's safe. Someone to say, yeah, you should totally do that. You're meant for it. You scroll social media looking for inspiration, hoping to see someone else like you living the life you want, so that maybe, you'll feel allowed to want it too. But that's not how it works. You don't get clarity from watching other people live courageously. You get clarity by acting. You doing the damn thing. You stepping into the unknown. You showing up scared and doing it anyway. And let's get something straight, permission is not something given. It's something claimed. Nobody gave the greats permission. Nobody told them it was a sure thing. They just decided. They decided their voice mattered. Their dream mattered. Their idea was worth taking a chance on. They didn't ask. They didn't wait. They acted, and the second they did, the game changed. You want to get unstuck. You want to move, you've got to do the same. You've got to choose yourself, even if nobody else does yet. Because here's the thing. If you don't believe in your path, why would anyone else? If you're standing around waiting for people to endorse your potential, you're going to be waiting forever. People believe in what you show them. And you show them you're serious not by talking about it, but by moving, by doing, by being the evidence. You've got to lead yourself first. You've got to become the kind of person who stops waiting for the green light and becomes the green light. Do you want to write the book? Start writing. Do you want to switch careers? Start researching and taking small steps. Want to move to a new city? Book the flight, even just to explore. Want to end that relationship that's draining the life out of you? Trust your gut and take action. Stop collecting opinions. Stop outsourcing your decisions, because nobody knows what you need more than you do. You don't need credentials to start. You don't need a title. You don't need to earn the right to want more. Wanting more is enough. You know what waiting does. It keeps you comfortable, but it also keeps you small. You don't grow by sitting in the same space rehearsing the same doubts. You grow by moving, even if the first step is shaky, even if it's tiny, because every time you act without permission, you prove to yourself that you can. And that proof builds confidence, not the other way around. Confidence doesn't come first, action does. So if you're sitting there thinking, I feel stuck, I want you to flip the script. Ask yourself, what permission am I waiting for? Who do you think needs to approve of this dream before you chase it? What rule are you following that no one actually made? And then ask the real question. What would I do if I stopped waiting? Because the truth is, the only thing standing between you and the next version of yourself is the lie that someone else has to say yes before you do. They don't. You don't need permission to change your life. You don't need to be picked. You don't need to be chosen. You don't need anyone to say you're good enough, smart enough, brave enough. You just need to decide that you're done waiting. That your time is now. That stuck is just a story. And you're not buying it anymore.